I used to think the scariest part of working night shift at a gas station in rural Nevada was the drunks and the meth heads that would stumble in at 3 a.m. asking for cigarettes. But I was wrong, because the scariest thing happened on a Tuesday in February when absolutely nothing walked through the door, and I still hear it breathing in my house now. The rules were simple when I got hired at that Shell station off Highway 50, the loneliest road in America. And the manager, a man named Roy, who had been there 20 years, told me 3 things on my first night and made me repeat them back until I had them memorized. 1. Lock the doors from the inside at midnight and do not open them for anyone, no matter what they say, no matter if they're crying, because we're closed and the cops are 40 minutes away. 2. Never look directly at the security monitors after 2 a.m. Just glance at them to check the pumps,
because the cameras sometimes see things that aren't there. And 3, if the radio starts playing static on its own, and you hear a voice in the static saying a name, you turn the radio off, you go in the back office, you lock that door too, and you do not come out until sunrise. And you do not answer if someone calls your name. I thought Roy was just messing with the new guy because he had that kind of dead-eyed sense of humor, but his hands were shaking when he told me Rule 3.
And I didn't ask why. For 2 months, nothing happened, and I started to think it was all bullshit, just small-town stories to keep bored night shift workers awake. Until that Tuesday in February, when the desert was frozen and there wasn't a single car on the highway for hours. And at exactly 2:17 a.m., the radio on the counter, which had been off all night, clicked on by itself and started spitting static. And through the static, I heard a voice, a woman's voice. And it said my name, Caleb, clear as if she was standing next to me. I remembered Rule 3, and my stomach dropped into my boot. And I reached to turn the radio off, but my hand stopped an inch from the dial, because on the security monitor, the one I wasn't supposed to look at, I saw her. She was standing out by pump 3 in a white dress in the middle of winter, and she wasn't moving, and her head was down so her hair covered her face. And she was barefoot on the frozen concrete, and I knew I should not have looked, but I did, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. I ran to the back office like Roy said, and I locked the door, and I sat on the floor with my knees to my chest, and I tried to call Roy, but my cell had no service. And then the landline phone in the office rang, and I stared at it while it rang once, twice, 3 times, and I did not answer. And when it stopped, the lights in the whole gas station went out. And the only light was from the security monitor under the office door, and I could see her shadow on the floor outside the office. And the shadow was wrong. It was too tall, and the arms were too long, and they weren't by its sides. They were raised, like it was pressing its hands against the door. Then the radio in the main room got louder, and the static stopped. And the woman's voice said, "Caleb, you looked at me. Now I can see you too." And the door handle started, and the lock was holding, but the metal was groaning like something was pulling it from the other side. And I was crying and whispering, "Go away," over and over. And then it stopped. Everything stopped. The radio, the pulling, the shadow, all of it. And the silence was worse. I stayed in that office until the sun came up. And when I opened the door, the station was empty. The front door was still locked from the inside. There were no footprints in the frost by pump 3. But the security footage from T:17 a.m. to 5:43 a.m. was gone. Just black. And the radio was melted. The plastic casing warped like it had been on fire. But there was no smell of smoke. I quit that day, and I never told Roy what happened, and he never asked. He just nodded like he already knew, and I moved to the city, and I thought it was over, but it wasn't. Because 3 nights ago, at 2:17 a.m., my phone rang, and I don't know how she got my number, and I didn't answer. And my voicemail recorded 30 seconds of static. And in the static, I heard her say, "Caleb, you looked at me. And last night I woke up because my bedroom was freezing, and my TV had turned on by itself to a black screen. And in the reflection of the glass, I saw her standing in the corner of my room, still in that white dress, still with her head down. But her shadow on the wall behind her had its head up, and it was looking right at me, and it smiled.
And the TV turned off by itself. And now I'm writing this because I don't think I'm gonna make it to sunrise. And if you work night shift anywhere, if you're alone at 2:17 a.m. and you hear static and it says your name, do not look, do not answer. Because once she sees you, she's in your cameras, she's in your phone, she's in the reflection, and she doesn't leave. And the worst part is you'll start to think she's beautiful.
And you'll want to see her face, and that's when you lose.